Hey everyone, and welcome to Comic Breakdown. And I hope you guys are ready because we're going to be diving into some more Future State. Now, as always, we're going to cover 3 issues in the morning and the rest of them will be dropped in the afternoon, as well as Strange Adventures featuring Adam Strange. But for this video, we're going to be covering Future State, Dark Detective, issue number 2, also featuring Red Hood, which we will also be covering. And with that being said, let's dive into this issue. Alright, so getting into this one, we have to remember that the year is 2027. That is when Dark Detective is taking place. And we're taking it to present day Gotham Port Authority shipyard. And Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, is letting us know that the Magistrate's new justice, their new form of taking on masks, are everywhere. And this new form of justice comes in the form of cybers, with voices that sound like little robotic game show hosts. Cybers have been the workforce of the Magistrate, used more so to safeguard merchandise and goods than people. And that's exactly what we see transpiring here, as we have some individuals trying to break into this warehouse, and a cyber comes in and goes to use lethal force right off the bat. And this is where we see Batman intervene. And he takes down one of these cybers relatively easily, but there's another behind him. And that's when it picks us up 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when the man Bruce Wayne died in an alley, killed by Peacekeeper number 1. And the question still lingers, why would the leader of the Magistrate ambush Bruce Wayne in an alley? He didn't have the answers for that then. It was too hard for him to try to think through the answers when he's too busy dying. And this is where it shows us the events that transpired in the alleyway, with Bruce getting shot in the side and making his way into the water. And as he floated deeper into the darkness, he opens his eyes and he saw death staring right in his face. One of Gotham's many John Does that have died in this violence. Luckily enough, this guy looked enough like a dead Bruce Wayne to buy a moment of confusion. And simultaneously, one of his electro grenades goes off that was seeming to be a dud beforehand. And while all this happened, Bruce just waited. Waited until his brain turned black. And then we pick back up in present day. And of all the bullets in all the battles he's ever fought, the bullet that killed him is one he currently still feels in his knee. But the Magistrate declared Bruce and Batman dead. Now it's possible that the Magistrate could have been saving face or doing something much differently, considering they don't have any DNA on file for Bruce Wayne. So they could really assume that the dead body they found was him. But because of this, because of Bruce Wayne being dead, he's had to relocate. He's living on in a whole different scale now. This is no longer Wayne Manor. He's living with a tinfoil hat by the name of Noah. The kind of guy that's terrified of cell phones because he's afraid everybody's watching him. Which in this case, Noah may not necessarily be a tinfoil hat, because the Magistrate really does have surveillance everywhere. But this is where we find out that Bruce Wayne's been going by the name of Jeff Marks, a boring roommate and graphic designer, living down in this basement, down in the basement of Noah Riley. He puts away his gear and he looks for answers about the murder of a Gotham citizen, Bruce Wayne, by a Magistrate peacekeeper. And how could the Magistrate possibly know that killing Bruce Wayne would also kill Batman? And so he's going to start where the money's at. Follow the equipment, all manufactured by 3 companies. The 3 mega companies had to be getting this money from somewhere, which means there's a benefactor that knows more than they're telling. And so Batman starts his investigation with Carl Bennington, Old Gotham Money. Originally, his company had tanked, but now he's Plexitex CEO, one of Gotham's newest megacorps, manufacturer of the Magistrate's armor and ballistics. Now, none of these corporations existed before the Joker War. And so this is all relatively new. And then this is when Bruce hears a buzzing and he catches it out of midair, and it seems to be some kind of drone. But this is when we see an army of drones come flying in. They've detected that he's here and they're on his tail. And so he has to hightail it out of here. Able to elude the bigger drones, he learns that they have micro drones, next level spy tech. about the size of a hummingbird. And this lets Bruce know that they have their hands in one of the oldest Gotham family enterprises out there, Wayne Enterprises. He knows this because they started developing the microtech for surveillance. They had good intentions in creating it, to go into tunnels and areas that human beings just couldn't get to or didn't have access to, which was all still in testing prior to the Joker War. But since the Magistrate's taken over, it looks like they've amped up R&D and have taken over many projects and now are using it against Batman. And this is when we hear Noah upstairs smashing his TV, letting Jeff, aka Bruce Wayne, know that he needs to destroy his TV as well because they're watching. They're everywhere. And Batman would have to agree. Now that will be the end of this issue. We're gonna dive now into Red Hood. So picking up with Red Hood, we see an older Jason Todd put on all his gear and head out. Heading down the highway, he's chasing down what seems to be a masked vigilante. And he causes this guy to crash on his motorcycle and brings him in. And what seems to be happening here is Red Hood is working for the Magistrate. But it doesn't look like they're given much of an option. It's either they spend time in Blackgate Max, or they become peacekeepers and help take down the other masks. And the whole time, all this dialogue is going on between the police officers, Hood is just staying silent. And this is when he gets a mask alert. A mask alert of the new Red Hood gang. And they seem to be stealing food. And so Red Hood goes out to do his job, to hunt down masked vigilantes. And Red Hood arrives at the scene, but it's kind of already gone. There's nobody left here, so he's really got to just kind of investigate what's going on. But then he pulls up to a bar. He goes inside, sits down at the counter, and asks the bartender for a drink. And as some of the guys in the bar start to tease him, tell him to put his mask on and get out of here because, he's a mask hunter, so he's not really liked around these parts. And this is when we see the arrival of Ravager, aka Rose. And these two are dating, they live in the same house, so on and so forth. And really what we find out here is that Rose has been taking this job and just really enjoying it. So much so that she's not bringing them in alive. She's killing any mask she comes across. And Jason seems really distraught by the idea of having to kill anybody. And this is where we find out that Jason Todd, it really seems like he's searching for Batman, for Bruce Wayne. Because if you want to catch someone wearing a mask, you look for the person under the mask. That's why he's here. So he's looking for somebody. And it's probably Bruce Wayne. When he pops back up on the radar, he wants to be able to find him and be the first one to get to him. Now, I don't know if that'll justify everything that he's been doing up to this point, but it seems that's the direction this is heading in right now. And after the discussion is over, he heads out and he finds one of the guys of the Red Hood gang. And he tracks him down, beats the crap out of him, but the guy gets away, runs around the corner, and gets cut in half by Rose, only to find out that this guy wasn't of sound mind. He was being controlled. He was being controlled by none other than Mad Hatter. Or at least that is what it's appearing to be, because this is Mad Hatter tech. And so they hop on the motorcycle and they head to Wonderland. And they search the premises only to find that Mad Hatter is nothing more than a skeleton with a bullet in his skull. And then this is when Red Hood gets an alert for the capture of none other than Jason Todd for unlawful heroics, dead or alive, last seen in the Narrows. And that will be where this issue ends. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. First of all, Dark Detective. It's really slowly starting to build and give us some story on exactly what's happening and how he got to this point and where he's at now. And what it seems to be is the Magistrate has used these little hummingbird-like drones to spy on every aspect of life. And that's more or less how they figured out who Bruce Wayne was. Because at the end of the day, in this world, the knowledge is the power. And then the Red Hood story, I know a lot of people were suspecting him to be Peacekeeper number 1. But I don't think that's the route it's going to go. I think maybe Ravager, aka Rose, might be But even then, I feel like that might not be the case either. So I'm really excited to find out who Peacekeeper number 1 is. I'm really hoping that it's just somebody completely new and it's not anybody that we know that has a long-standing history with Batman. And with these little micro drones, it really gives us a wider idea of who this could be. Because it's not necessarily somebody close to him now. It could just be anybody, especially if they just have little hummingbird drones flying all over the city gathering information all day. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet already, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, check out our podcast, Comic Breakdown and More, where we cover all the weekly comic pulls as well as WandaVision and all the other great cinema stuff coming out. Also, if you are in the Medford area, do me a favor and go check out Rogue City Comics. They are one of the best comic stores I have personally been in. They keep up to date on all the latest issues. It's definitely worth checking out if you live in the area. And until the next video.